Alright, so this is the solo Warden of Nothing. I used Torches, Singeing, Empyrean, Solace, and I used Wonder. And I used Wonder to counteract the -10 resilience from Empyrean. I used Submission, a suboptimal Stars and Shadow, and Levy's Breath. I used Bow Ammo Finder and Harmonic Siphon with Reaping. I used Overload SMG, Unstopped Scout with Elemental Charge. Chest piece, I used a Solar Resist and a Arc Resist. And on my Star Eater scales, I used Bow Scab, High Energy Fire with Revitalizing Blast and Class D Restoration. This is completed no boss cheese with a boss melt on a Solar Hunter Platinum rewards. So to start, just a few goblins up ahead, and then I'm going to kill the first overload. So if you don't know, there are all 3 champions in this, which is also why I'm running Leviathan's Breath. It's to cover the unstop. We're going to take this left path here because I really don't want to kill all those enemies on that bridge, and I'm lazy.
Hell no. Varric's left his pet servitor behind. Gonna think we're nuts.
I come behind this box, which gives me a perfect angle to kill the the overload. And I'm able to just kind of abuse Revitalizing Blast to kill him. This is a Solar Burn Nightfall. So Revitalizing Blast does a ton of damage. It does 18k on a stun. And with Solar Fulmination, it's going to do an additional 25%. So it would probably be doing approximately 22.5k. But I found that Classy was just more important for survivability.
You're in for the biggest gunfight to ever.
Now, I don't have any means of going invis, and so because of that, I need to take a lot of this as slowly as possible to ensure that I don't die. Now, as I say that, I then proceed to run past 4 goblins. The goblins shoot solar weapons, which is extremely lethal. There, I used Reaping, and I should have grabbed that Elemental Well to proc Charged with Light for High Energy Fire. But I didn't, and you know what? It's not the end of the world, because this goblin dies pretty quickly, and he's going to draw me another well anyway. Kill that goblin, and then I'm going to use some Levy's Breath shots to kill this Hydra, simply because I don't want to sit there shooting him with a pulse rifle for 90 hours. Takes 3 Levy's Breath crits to kill the Hydra, and then other than that, it's just going to be the Unstop and some Phalanxes. It takes 3 Levy's Breath shots to make it pretty close to finishable. That one didn't because the 3rd shot was detonated after he had been unstunned, which is why it didn't do the full damage. And I'm using an anti-barrier pulse rifle to pierce through the phalanx shields here. Now, I don't own an Ogma. If I did, I would love to have ran an Ogma with adaptive munitions. I don't own one though, I know Banshee was selling it, so instead I just went with my Stars and Shadow, which will help me get a lot of grenades because it has Demolitionist. And as you can see, it's just shooting this barrier hobgoblin with a pulse rifle and using Revitalizing Blast to kill him over time. Trying to run a Nightfall like this without Revitalizing Blast would be absolutely horrible, because you'd be running into issues killing champions because you're basically then forced to use heavy ammo, or else you're going to be spending 90 hours killing every single champion just with primary fire, and that does not sound fun. I kill those, and then I grab this Orb of Light to start working up my Feast of Light stacks. So the ideal situation is that you reach the boss fight with Feast of Light X8. Now, my very first run of this took me 6 attempts. My first run failed in Where did my first run fail? My first run failed at the beginning. I've already passed where I died. Second run failed at the boss fight. Third run failed. I think my third run I died to a train, and my fourth run I also died to a train. I don't know where my fifth death was, because I'm pretty sure this was my sixth attempt. Maybe it was my fifth. But if you don't have X8, Feast of Light, your boss bake is not going to be very good. And so on my second attempt, where I did make it to the boss fight, I had X8, but I completed the entire strike without using my super, and I missed a few orbs. So what I was thinking on this run was that I would use my super in the next room, the room with the Minotaur, and try to make sure that I get it for the boss fight. Which, you'll see that I only have X6, but it works out in the end. Anyway, but if you want to be really safe, just never use your super at any point until the boss fight. And that way you're basically guaranteed to have X8 Feast of Light stats for the boss fight. Not too much going on here, it's really just slowly pulse rifling all these enemies down. The snipers are going to be more dangerous than the pea shooters, which is why I was prioritizing them, as this is a solar burn nightfall. Now, if you don't go all the way up these stairs, the barriers won't spawn in, and so this lets you kill the Hydra really easily without needing to worry about anything else in the section. So right now, just waiting for him to peek, shoot him. He's low. I'm not going to waste a Levy's breath shot when he's that low, and I'm just going to primary him down. Alright, go in, and I spawn in 2 barrier hobgoblins, and then there's a ton of goblins that spawn in as well. I don't know if you could hear that, but that was lightning. At this point, I don't want to peek to try to kill a barrier when there's a million goblins on, so I'm just going to be head glitching or just kind of peek shooting the goblins here. And this is kind of where my Stars and Shadow does come in handy, because it has Demolitionist. I'm getting a decent number of grenades, and I can just constantly throw them at trains. Throwing that grenade tells me that it's going to be really safe to come up to the left side, because that grenade should kill all the goblins on the right. And it kills all but one of them, which is perfect. Now, in hindsight there, I should have used my melee to kill that last goblin to give myself Radiant, but I didn't, and that's fine. It just means that killing this barrier hobgoblin is going to be a bit slower, so I start using Levy's Breath ammo. When a hobgoblin is this low, there's no reason to shoot a Levy's Breath. It's much better to just primary it down, because it will die anyway, either from the primary or from the next stun. Just like that. And now we focus the right side one. It's the exact same thing. Here, it can be really annoying if a barrier decides to shield about half a second before a train appears, because he's going to regen a decent amount of its health. But here I get pretty lucky and I never have that happen.
Thanks, girl.
Kind of like that. But because I was able to keep the consistent damage on him, he never really regened. And I used 2 more Levy's Breath shots to finish it. Now at this point, it's just killing more goblins to force the Minotaur to spawn in. I don't know exactly how many goblins it takes to kill, but that number should be rounded down because I think it's too many and this is really annoying. There I underthrow a grenade, And so I get pretty impatient that I shoot a Minotaur with Levi's Breath, and then proceed to not kill the Minotaur. So that's one wasted Levi's Breath shot. Let's hope that it doesn't come into an issue here. We're just trying to kill this goblin. There we go. Goblin's dead.
Important target, Guardian.
Now,
2, 4.
my goal here was to see how much Blade Barrage does. I only had X1 Feast of Light, and it takes it down to 33% health. If I was able to get X2, I probably could have one-shot it. Maybe X3 would have been required. Either way, I'm now deciding to just use Leviathan's Breath to finish killing it. Once the Minotaur dies, everything else despawns. This lets me search for ammo, which appears that I'm not going to get lucky. Now there I was going into dim. I don't know why. Oh, I know. Someone suggested an adaptive munitions pulse, and I was going to check to see if I even owned one, which I don't. So now at this point, if you don't use your super on that Minotaur, it's just stacking up Feast of Light. But now I have the issue of I don't have my super. I'm pretty sure... I'm still convinced that that melee should have killed that Legionary. Either way, it's just really primarying everything down. And now the way you want to proc Orbs of Light is you're basically forced to weaken 2 enemies and then kill them back to back. So there you can see that it takes 3 Levi's Breath crits to make an unstop finishable. I finish it. There's no reason to waste more ammo on it. Especially when I'm pretty low on Levi's Breath ammo, relatively speaking. I think that says 5. I actually can't tell if that's a 5 or a 9. It's 5, okay. And I missed the crit there, so the archer's tempo is going to mean that I don't one-shot it. Or sorry, I don't 3-shot it, which means that I am unfortunately going to have to waste an extra shot. And then I kill it with a primary, hoping that that'll proc a finder brick, which it doesn't. And so now at this point I've got my super back, so now it's back to trying to farm Feast of Light stats. So in hindsight, I should not have killed that Legionary. I should have weakened a second one before I killed it. And then killed both in rapid succession to get an Orb of Light. So there's one orb that I'll get, so now I'm at X1 Feast of Light. Now I think I realize here that these 2 Legionaries are really close, that I can actually kill both pretty... Oh, and then it ends up killing the other one anyway, but I still managed to get the orb to spawn, which is perfect. And one drops a heavy brick, which is quite fortunate for me. Now here there's 2 snipers, an Incendior, and 2 Legionaries. The snipers are very deadly, so you want to make sure that you kill those before you start running in guns blazing. Same thing there, I should have made it so the Legionary was one shot before I killed it, because that's another Feast of Light stack that I just missed out on. Grab the heavy, but I've got full heavy going into this next section though, which is perfect.
Kill them.
Blow those up. And now, I don't want to use more Levi's Breath ammo than I need to. So the last enemy that I kill here is going to be the Unstop. And as a result, what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop around to the far right side and work on killing the Vex barrier and the Cabal barrier first. Coming all the way up here, and what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to work on the barrier hobgoblins. And my primary source of damage here are grenades and Stars and Shadow with with Revitalizing Blast. Now both of them have grouped up onto each other, which means that now I'll be kind of killing both at the same time, which is perfect. Fortunately, the other one shielded behind a wall there, so I couldn't break its shield. And there I stopped shooting at 12 shots, thinking that I would be able to break its shield with 4 bursts, but I'm not. So these barrier kills are going to be a little bit slower than normal. A Revitalizing Blast gives you shield regen when you stun a champion, so even with low recovery, it's actually a really good mod to use. Now we're working on the Colossus. Just stunning the Overload here. Again, the Unstop, I want to be the last enemy alive. And now, after all that, the Unstop is at 50% health. I only needed to use one Leviathan's Breath. Now's the hardest part, the mines. The mines is the hardest part of this Nightfall by far. You are on a very strict timer. So I come to this left door to get ready to kill these 4 goblins. Or 3 goblins, I don't know. I throw a grenade. And I want to kill these goblins as quickly as possible. I kill them, I get Radiant, and I've kept my melee, which is perfect. At this point, the barrier should be in this position, which I'm able to kill him, stun him, and then stunning him will blow up the goblins nearby. And I didn't realize he was finishable there, or I would have finished him. I do it after the fact. I throw another melee there to get Radiant, and now it's working on the Unstop. Sometimes this Unstoppable isn't here, and he's by B, but that's okay. If he's by B, maybe try to get him to come towards you. That's okay. And so now I see that I've still got 10 seconds left on the mine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cap it a little bit, and then I'm going to make my way to C. So what I want to do at C is I want to kill as many of these goblins as I can. I just throw a grenade and then I come back because I'm really short on time. And now, as soon as A captures, I run straight to B. I kill this Phalanx. I'm pretty sure I use him to get Radiant. Which I do. And then I can use that Radiant to kill this Honored Legionary. Now, I've noticed if you go to C and then cap A, the Void Minotaur normally leaves. So he's no longer here. So I'm able to kill the two goblins with extreme ease. And then you can see that the Void Minotaur is over there. Now, he does end up teleporting back to me, so I have to kill him. And it gets very scary because I don't have Classy Restoration. But it's fine. And so at this point, I've got Feast of Light X4. I've got 10 Leviathan's Breath shots. I'm trying to get 4 more Feast of Light stacks. But this is the only place that I can do it. So at this point, I'm basically forced into trying to kill Legionaries in pairs. So I kill those two. There you go. Orb spawns. I kill the third one so that I can actually grab the orb. And now I'm at X5. Now at this point, I'm just trying to get more enemies isolated, which takes me a very long time to do, and it doesn't actually work. So at this point, I'm basically convinced that I'm not going to be getting to X8. So now I'm just trying to damage the Colossus as much as possible to try to see if any more enemies spawn. Now here, I realized that there were 2 Legionaries, so I was able to bait them over here. 2. And unfortunately, I have to kill this third one, or else I would have been able to use him with the other one to get to X7. But we'll be content with X6. I'm pretty sure at this point, what I was trying to do was to weaken the Colossus and kill both the Colossus and the Legionary at the same time, but as you can see, the Legionary had died. Just there to my Levy's Breath shot. Now, I saw there was Levy's Breath ammo, so I figured I'll use a few shots. Now, this is where I get really confused. Not too sure what my friend here is doing. Goodness. Grab the ammo. And now it's time for the boss fight. Now, for reference, I move very slowly through this next section because sometimes there's a bug where if you move too quickly, so basically if you are the opposite of Leopard, the champions won't spawn in the boss fight, which makes it so the strike can't end. So here, I take it one step at a time.
Just to keep you away, and you survived. That's messed up. What's this? You fought. You won.
And I get lucky, so I know when that diamond appears that it's going to work. So I know that it's going to work.
Nice move, Slick.
And so as soon as I drop down here, we will get 4 champions to spawn.
Hey, get ready for the biggest gunfight ever fought in prison. That crazy servitor's down here.
I have no idea what I was pausing for there. Probably taking a drink. So now I'm going to kill the Unstop, and then I'm going to kill the Barrier Colossus, and then the Barrier Hobgoblin. Now at this point, I was thinking, okay, maybe I can kill these two at the same time, but then I realized, oh, Revitalizing Blast exists. And there's no way for me to do that. Alright. So here, I kill it with a weapon to get a well after a dodge to proc Reaping Wellmaker, which gives me high energy fire with charge with light. You want to shoot him 3 times. If you shoot him more, you risk over damaging. So third shot, and I wait, I see he teleports to middle, shoot 1, proc Radiant, Blade Barrage, and then it's just a GG after that. That one was not a fully charged shot.
Thanks, girl.
Thanks, girl. GG. I got 4 exotics to drop. Only 2 of them are actually exotics. 2 of them are enhancement cores.
Thanks for your help out here, Chosen.
As always, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you enjoyed this content. And we'll see you guys next time.
You did great. So, I'll clean up behind you.